When it comes to both live-action movies and TV shows, Superman is DC's most successful character by far when it comes to having both, with a very long history in live-action with multiple different film franchises and TV shows. To that point, last week was a pretty big one for Superman, as Superman and Lois ended its third season, mere days after the next Superman and Lois were cast for Superman Legacy. We're sure to get a new Superman costume by 2025 in Superman Legacy, but seeing as that's not for another 2 years, and seeing as it's unlikely we'll get a new costume in Superman and Lois Season 4 because of the budget cuts, and because he just got a new one in Season 3, this would be a good time to look at every live-action Superman costume and rank them from worst to best. Now, there have been many of what you might call a Superman suit. For the sake of simplicity, however, I will only be counting any legitimate attempt at either an adaptation of the Superman suit from the comics, or maybe a reinvention. What this means specifically is that all the prototype suits from Smallville will not be counted for this video, nor will the black suits, which are just too different or hard to compare, and honestly, no matter how good a black suit would be, it would never be at the top of a Superman costume list. If you were wondering, my ranking for the black suits that have been in live action would be the one from Lois and Clark, followed by the one from Smallville, followed by the Arrowverse version, and finally the DCEU. With all that in mind, we are left with 18 suits from across the last 75 years of live-action Superman media. One thing I will mention is that I do personally think suits have generally gotten better over time, and the list will be indicative of that without consideration for how good it was for the time, although I will be more lenient on the older suits in the commentary. Remember, this is only my opinion, and make sure to leave your own in the comments down below, make sure to subscribe, and let's begin. I did say that suits have generally gotten better over time, but the original tight space suits did work a lot better for Superman than it did for Batman, for instance. And actually, right at the bottom of the list is the newest suit to appear in live action, the Nicolas Cage one from The Flash, which, trying to put the awful CGI cameo the suit appeared in aside, it still kinda is just ugly, and always has been ever since it's only been showed in behind-the-scenes media. The shades of red and yellow are fine, but the blue is too dark, the plastic suit is far less than ideal material, the logo is too large, the ab design and the style of the Schumacher suits on the suit is so overbearing, doesn't fit Superman at all, and is just ugly. The red trunks acting more like a cup than trunks really doesn't look good. Giving this Superman movie that never got past the costume fitting a cameo on The Flash was always a weird decision, but it allowed me to include this suit, the suit that we've been seeing only in behind the scenes photos for years, onto the list. Right at the bottom, it is, however, at least a little bit better than the other suit that Nicolas Cage was fitted for that movie. Going from a Superman movie that never got made to a Superman TV show that never got made, there was a Superboy TV pilot in the 60s, and the suit from that show is indeed very low on the list, but it's actually not bad. Literally, there's only one bad suit on this list at all, and that's the Nick Cage one. Superman has had a way better costume history than Batman, with a lot of very similar, but also simple, tight-based Superman suits that are kind of always just fine. Sometimes they are pretty good though. I don't really have much to say about this one, especially since it appeared exclusively in black and white. The trunks are nicely shaped, as is the logo, but it's not necessarily well placed on the torso. The actor, I don't think, pulls off the skin tights the best, but that does feel excusable, because this isn't actually Superman, it's Superboy. An even older suit, this time from the 50s, is George Reeves' suit, which did technically appear alongside him in The Flash as well. This suit only ever appeared in black and white, but we can tell its color scheme from posters and behind-the-scenes images, which shows pretty much perfect shades of blue, red, and yellow on a very simple spandex suit with two large trunks that are too high on the suit, which causes the torso to look far too small. The suit was great for the time, and has certainly aged better than the Batman suits of the 40s and 50s, but it's definitely a lot worse than a lot of suits that came after. An even older suit comes from the 40s, the first live-action adaptation of Superman, which was a fantastic first adaptation of the Superman suit, with a good fabric used and a really nice looking logo. I don't think the suit was blue and red because it didn't need to be. The show was fully in black and white, so we can't talk about the color scheme, and also the trunks are too tall, which makes the torso look a bit too small again, but I think the suit looks better than a few other suits that came after, which is impressive because not only was it the first, but it's all the way back in the 1940s. A bit of a more recent suit comes from Lois and Clark, which is maybe the most unique spandex-based suit in this list because of its darker blue, and it is a well-executed version of a less than ideal color scheme. I just prefer the lighter blue over the darker blue. The fabric is really good, the trunks are well-shaped, and the shades of red and yellow are great as well. The biggest problem here is probably just that the logo is a bit too large. I will say though, it's a good suit. Every suit on this list, aside from the first one, was good. They're just varying degrees of good. While a big leap in production quality value, this one is a lot more expensive looking, that's for sure. It's a lot fancier with a lot more details. The DCEU Superman second suit is also very similar to the issues of this version of Superman in general, which is that it's just far too dark with very muted shades of blue, red, and borderline invisible yellow, alongside almost nothing in the middle to break up the overwhelming amount of blue, with the belt being far too subtle, and the added muscle padding fake muscle design being pretty ugly in the arms, legs, and abs. That does not look good. It looks pretty weird on the less than ideal material, but also makes Superman maybe too imposing. The suit does follow Man of Steel's lead of reinventing the Superman design to make it look more alien, but I think does a far worse job than its predecessor, and ends up looking way too dark for Superman. Objectively speaking, it does look good. While also reinventing the Superman suit a bit, the original CW Superman suit is also indicative of the Arrowverse Superman's problems, as it really doesn't complement Tyler Hoechlin's physique, as the very minimally designed belt is too high up on the suit, making the legs look too long and the torso too short, which is kind of awkward, which I think encompasses what the Arrowverse Superman's biggest issue was, which is that he kind of was a bit of a wimp. The shade of blue is good, and the logo, while flat, does pop on the suit because of the yellow. The clasped cape was criticized, but I never disliked it. In fact, I think it adds a bit of color to the more front and center red, and also the gold clasps. The fabric is pretty much perfect, and the lines throughout the design look good, but I will say, I'm very glad the suit was left behind and replaced in Superman and Lois, because both of the suits from that were a lot better. The Justice League suit is pretty much just a brighter version of the BVS suit, which keeps the high production value while also giving the suit a better color scheme with the perfect light shades of blue and red. However, the suit does not fix one of the other suit's main issues, which is the less than ideal material and the fake muscle design throughout the suit, which honestly, the fake muscle design is showcased even more by the brighter colors. Still though, I'd prefer the brighter colors over the darker colors of the other suit, even if the fake muscles are a bit more visible, because they were visible on the other one as well. While certainly very similar and arguably derivative of the Christopher Reeve suit, the Superboy suit from the 1988 TV show, or rather the second one, is still pretty great, with a fantastic looking light shade of blue, which looks great with the red and yellow in the suit, and is very well filled out by the actor who plays him, unless there is muscle padding, in which case the fact that I can't even tell is definitely impressive. The only issue I have with the suit, aside from it being derivative, is that the logo is maybe a bit too large, which is where the first Superboy suit comes in. Before that, however, I genuinely think the first Superboy suit is better than the suit it's based on. I know this is the most iconic Superman suit and the most iconic live-action Superman, but I think it's been surpassed quite a bit since, and is not perfect for a few reasons. The suit is indeed a really good execution of the classic comic tights design with great fabric, a really nice light shade of blue that goes well with the red and yellow, which alongside the well-sized logo and the well-sized trunks were perfect for the time. However, the trunks are not shaped all that well. They look a bit too much like underwear. The flat logo is also a bit too rounded, and while I know Christopher Reeve was very muscular, I don't think it was enough to pull off this suit that has zero muscle padding, as his arms look a bit too small, making for a very unimposing Superman. Still, the suit is incredibly charming and perfect for the time. In basically the exact same suit, just with a smaller logo compared to the last two, the Superboy suit is pretty much just a perfect, simple Superman suit design, with great fabric, great color scheme, and a very well filled out suit by the actor slash subtle muscle suit. It is again derivative of the Christopher Reeve suit, but that was clearly very intentional, as the show could be a spiritual prequel to those movies, and if I'm being honest, because the actor, or maybe the addition of the very subtle muscle suit, fills out the suit better than Christopher Reeve's did, and also the better shaped and sized logo, I like the suit more than the Christopher Reeve suit. In a far better updated suit compared to the Arrowverse one, the Superman and Lois suit is a great execution of the Rebirth design with a perfect fabric, great design with lines separating two separate shades of blue, and a super vibrant red cape, which I think really makes the suit pop, which it desperately needs, and the classic red and yellow logo alongside a great looking belt, a perfect balance between inspiring and imposing with visible muscles that seem to be Tyler's natural physique, aside from the abs, which are very subtle and look real. However, early on in the show's run, they used far too much muscle padding, which made Clark's body look too big for his head, but they did fix this pretty quickly. Additionally, the logo is a bit too small and could use a bevel, especially since the color scheme in general, aside from the cape, which really helps, is a bit muted. Still though, I like this suit quite a bit. The updated Superman and Lois suit from season 3 fixed one particular issue from the previous suit with the beveled logo on top of the natural looking padded chest, making the logo far more prominent and adding a high quality element to the suit. The suit does make one thing worse, however, as while the muscle padding itself is pretty much perfect, the suit itself has an ab design, which while certainly not nearly as egregious as it would be on a plastic suit, it just looks fine. It is definitely not ideal. Still though, I think while these two suits are very similar in quality, this one is maybe just a bit better because of the logo. The more modernized take on the Superman suit uses a great skin-tight spandex material without any muscle padding, which Brandon Routh fills out really well, alongside the perfect shade of light blue and the perfect amount of yellow in the logo and belt, the great cape even if it is a bit dark, the perfectly shaped and fitting red trunks that break up the blue of the suit perfectly, alongside the beveled and high quality logo. The problems, while minimal, do exist, as the logo is a bit too small, the shade of red is a bit too dark, and the design itself is a bit too empty, although all of those are more minor complaints. I will say this is the only suit that exists that has any nostalgia for me at all. However, it's definitely not enough to make it my favorite. While these subsequent DCEU Superman suits fumbled the bag a bit, the Man of Steel suit take on this reinvented, more alien-looking, based in Kryptonian technology Superman design is so much better than what came after. The color scheme is definitely a bit too muted, and the belt could definitely be more prominent, but the suit is certainly one of the highest quality suits on the list, with a far better design than what came after, as the fabric and detail in the suit is great. The muscle design, in deep contrast to BVS or Justice League, is a lot more limited. In fact, it's basically just the abs, which is also under the suit, not in the suit itself, and it just looks a lot more natural and a lot better. The logo is a bit larger, which makes it pop more. I think a more vibrant version of this suit would be the ideal DCU Superman suit as opposed to the redesign it would later get. Still though, I don't know if it would be any higher on the list than it is already, but it definitely would have a shot. The Fleischer suit from Superman and Lois is easily the best tights-based Superman suit ever made, to the point where it easily overshadowed the main suit that appeared alongside it during Superman and Lois Season 1. The color scheme is perfect, with the really nice shade of light blue, the great shade of red, with the trunks perfectly breaking up the design, and with the yellow and the outline of the logo really popping as well. The suit is filled out very nicely by Tyler Hoechlin alongside very minimal and subtle enough muscle padding in the abs and I think maybe the shoulders. The suit isn't the highest quality, but that's actually a positive since it's supposed to be a year one homemade suit made by his mother, which is where the more simple logo comes in as well, which together with his figure makes this Superman simultaneously like the most charming and also at the same time the most imposing and awe-inspiring Superman ever put to screen, aside from one other. The CW was clearly very good at making Superman suits, as I think Superman costumes in live action peaked in Crisis on Infinite Earths. In Brandon Routh's grand return to the role of Superman, he went from being like the least respected Superman ever from Superman Returns to the single best looking Superman in live action ever in a suit with the absolute ideal fabric. I think they really should reuse this design concept for Superman Legacy. It looks good, it looks comfortable, it looks high quality, as does the logo, which certainly pops in spite of the black. The color scheme scheme is pretty much perfect with the ideal shades of light blue and red. There isn't any yellow, however, and we'll get to that in a second. The muscle suit is not at all overbearing and very subtle. It just looks pretty natural on Brandon Routh most of the time, alongside the fact that the majority of the suit actually does use Routh's physique. It's really just the chest and abs which don't, but it's not in the suit, it's under it, so it looks fine. The suit was so good that it made me like Tyler Hoechlin's suit, which appeared alongside it in Crisis on Infinite Earths less. I, at one point, kind of liked that suit, but looking at it compared to Brandon Routh in that crossover, it doesn't even compare. But also, the suit single-handedly made people want a Kingdom Come spin-off starring Brandon Routh. The only thing preventing this suit from being a perfect Superman design is that it's based on the Kingdom Come suit, which alongside the mostly black belt makes the suit lack the yellow as the final ingredient for the perfect Superman suit. That brings us to number 1. As basically the exact same suit, just with the black in the logo and presumably also the black in the belt, although we do not see it, replaced by yellow, the new multiverse or post-crisis Brandon Routh Superman suit adds the final ingredient that would go the extra step to make the suit absolutely perfect, or I guess the only thing still preventing it from being a 100% perfect adaptation of the Superman suit is that the logo is based off the Kingdom Come logo and not the regular one. But that doesn't really matter. This deserves to be number 1. The Brandon Routh Kingdom Come Superman suit is the best Superman suit ever made.